Hello, hello. Hi, Dervilla. It's so nice to see you.
It's me, Lena. How you doing?
Good, good. I'm so excited to have you with us today. I am thrilled about this session amongst marketers, of course. We've had such fun getting ready for this, but I know we're going to touch on some incredible topics that are front and center for a marketing localization leader, what they're going through, what they're navigating today with AI. You know, at this point, AI is on everybody's hands, and how they're navigating governance, how they're building teams, and how they're going about it in a very successful way. And I am thrilled to have Dervilla, one of my good friends now from Docusign, one of our customers here at SmartLink. But your story is absolutely thrilling on the process that you've gone through with Docusign and what you build, and the challenges that you face, but how you face them and how you brought them to success. So I'd love for you to, first of all, just kind of introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a little bit about you. And and then we'll get started. But before I pause into that, I just want to make sure that everybody on the audience, hello, everyone. We're so thrilled that you're here with us. I just want to make sure that you know that if you have any questions, please send them over to the chat. We will make sure that we will address all of them. I only have 30 minutes with Dervilla, so we're going to use that time very wisely, so we will not be going into Q&A at the end. Dervilla, take it away. Tell us a little bit about you.
Absolutely. So, hi everybody. I'm a lead web manager here at Docusign for localization international operations within our e-commerce and PLG organization. So I support and oversee localization across not just the web, but campaigns, product marketing, creative, and much more. We're a small team, so relationship building and influence are core to how this program operates and is a success. And just a couple of things the group will hopefully learn from this session today is, how to run localization effectively with a lean team, including how to build influence across the organization by partnering closely with stakeholders. And then also how hyper-localization and governed AI improve marketing impact, and including why source content often needs to be adapted before translation. So hopefully they'll get a lot of learnings out of today's session.
It's kind of top of mind for everybody today, no matter who you speak to all over the world. These are really the questions that they're asking, but also the challenges that they're going through. I think we are in a moment, you and I were talking about this last week, and we are in a moment where AI translation tools are already in the marketing team's hands. Most of them think that that's enough. And how did you approach governance when the tooling decision had already been made for you, which is, the stand that many people arrive into as their role develops? Like, how did you go about that?
Yeah, for sure. Like here at Docusign, we've access to many different tools and AI functionality. For example, Gemini is available to anyone, here at Docusign. And the challenge I find is it isn't about blocking AI. It's about educating stakeholders on why brand trained AI works, centralized workflows exist. Okay, so instead of saying don't use Gemini, we say use Gemini for brainstorming, but use our governed flow for that final mile. So it's really about clarifying the handoff point between, the Wild West AI and this is governed AI, which I'm sure, as you said, is a pain point for many people in the audience. Here at Docusign, we obviously use SmartLink as our secure, consistent system to govern and manage how AI gets used. And we benefit from things such as a glossary, translation memory, style guides, etc., quality controls that generic AI simply can't replicate. And the overall approach, it's relationship-based, not policy-based. So it has been built through regular check-ins and making the case in terms that stakeholders can understand and relate to. So, over why does governed AI? Ungoverned AI can actually lead to brand voice inconsistency, tone and terminology drift. Institutional knowledge in the TM can get bypassed entirely. And what I've seen quite a bit is that ungoverned AI actually creates a lot of rework. You're spending a lot of time fixing errors, etc. And that's a great way to win over lean marketing teams.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say about producing more work because, for the most part, everyone sees it as, it's going to make me more productive. But if I don't set it up right, or if I don't go about it right, it's actually going to produce more work for me. And then you're just doing the opposite, right? You're just kind of going backwards and going and checking your work, and it's really not going to get you where you want. So it's we talked about this last week. We've been on roadshows all over the world, and we find ourselves in this point where the market is driving that push for AI, no matter where you're at, what you're doing, and everyone's trying to really understand how do you go about the content created. So I know many of us can say, especially of marketers, right? So like we go about the website and we go about the blogs, you have it, all the things, right? Like all the things that we want to communicate, all the markets that we want to connect to. But did you go about that content creation and making sure that the content creation was translated in a way that was successful? And by that, I mean, really arriving to the market in a way that they understood and that they were connecting with it.
Yeah, it's so important. So honestly, what I've seen is content from certain markets, it tends not to be culturally specific in tone and therefore cannot translate directly globally. So for example, what works for one audience can often fall flat or alienate another. So we've introduced a concept of hyper-localization. I'll explain what that means here at Docusign. I'll give you an example. We offer the intelligent agreement platform to our customers, and our e-signature product is one of the many core products in that platform lineup. So for when we were launching that, the e-signature product web experience, for example, this experience would have been developed initially from a US standpoint, speaking to US use cases, featuring US customers, features that exist in that region, etc. However, when it came to rolling that web experience out globally, and particularly for EMEA, we knew we had to push messaging on the marketing product page that was around Docusign supporting all levels of signatures defined by eIDAS, which is an EU-specific regulation ensuring secure cross-border electronic transactions. And this was a key call-out for the marketing message on the e-signature product page in that region, hence the focus. So how my team goes about it is that we adapt the source content first. We adjust tone, formality, cultural framing, features, relevancy in a region so that AI can then perform well on the output. And it's really about making content ready for AI rather than expecting AI to compensate for a flawed source. And all of this requires human judgment. AI can help, obviously, with suggestions, but a human has to sign off on the cultural adaptation. So we always make sure that's a step in the process.
Okay, so hyper-localization. Of course, you mentioned that, and I want to double click on that for a second. So we're talking web campaigns, blogs, anything, product marketing. We talked about customer stories, which, thrilling part of marketing where you can connect with that market at that level when you're translating at that level. So tell me a little bit about that hyper-localization, kind of double clicking on it, and how do you really expand that all the way across without putting that into a halt, but at the same time, when I think of hyper-localization, and I think we talked about this, is the risk that people run into, or companies run into hyper-localization, is they do it once and then not for all. It's not like an ongoing thing that you have going as a motion. So it's one campaign, and then we run it through all these things. But so how did you go about real hyper-localization to just really completely arrive to those markets? I know we talk a little bit about one of our favorite topics, AEO. Who's not talking about AEO, how you went about that? I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, for sure. So Basically, everything that my team touches is hyper-localized. So it's not just web, it's campaigns, product marketing, blogs, customer stories. The list is endless. Anything that's customer facing. And we did a lot of testing to prove the impact, that adapted content does outperform direct translation. For example, on the homepage, right? That's where a lot of first impressions are made and matter most. So our regional marketing teams, they get guidance from our HQ teams, but they're given autonomy to adapt, because they know their market best. They're on the floor, in the field, talking to the sales teams, etc. And as you know, language specific nuances go beyond just words. You've got gender, formality registers, call to action phrases. They all have to be considered per market and adapted. You mentioned SEO and SEO, of course, they also factor in. So particularly from a web point of view, you want to make sure you're showing up in the right way in each market, because so most people, I'm sure, in this audience are very familiar with the term SEO, but AEO, which as we know is optimizing for AI-driven search such as Gemini, that's the new frontier. So hyper-localization ensures Docusign is the source of truth for AI agents in EMEA. And if your content isn't localized with that right terminology, like the EIDAS example I mentioned earlier, then local AI bots simply won't recommend Docusign accurately because the training data, aka our web content, it's just too US centric. So overall, it shifts localization from just translating words to really future-proofing our presence in that AI ecosystem.
Yeah, AEO is such a topic today, I feel like, for all of us marketers. And there's just so much that I believe we're all uncovering along the way. It's exciting. I mean, I think, I talked about this and, talking to marketers all over the world when we say, yes, it is, it's at AI speed that we're moving right now, but we're also at a point in time that we have the ability to take that as an opportunity to, on our behalf, and how we run our teams, how we build our teams, how we expand within those teams. When it comes to AEO specifically, or SEO and AEO today, what would you say has been kind of like the winning formula you've had in the last? It's funny because I ask people when they say in the last 6 months, they're like, no, that's too long to ask me about the last 2 months. What would you say you've done differently from a translation perspective when it comes to SEO?
Well, probably one of the biggest things we've done is just change the type of content that we're putting out there. So we're very much answer first content, making it relevant, answer we expect our users will be looking for when they're using any of these search engines. So that's been probably the biggest shift, and we've done it a lot. We've seen huge success with it with our blogs and customer stories, and we now have adapted it across more of the website in our product marketing experiences and everything. So that's been fundamentally the biggest shift we've made.
Yeah, it's I'm loving the speed of how it responds to, because the faster we're moving with AEO, the faster AEO is responding back to us. And I think that's thrilling for any marketer. I think marketers were just born to work fast. That's
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about, and you kind of open it up with this as one of the things that we said, okay, this is part of what the audience is experiencing today, but at the same time, something that we talked in length about is you open up saying, I have a lean team here, and I'd love to hear a little bit about we talked a little bit about that external strategy that you have and the success that you've had by doing that. But just let's take it a little bit back into Docusign, specifically into your marketing team. So many are experiencing lean teams. So how did you go about building these programs with this lean team, and also creating that program credibility across within your leadership so that you could get the visibility that you needed? I know that is so critical, visibility into the program, because what we're seeing And localization is moving from function to function, and many might live under a CMO, many might live under a CIO or CPO, and being able to show that visibility and result and what you're doing within your team and what you're building ahead. I know it's a topic that we have at every single roadshow. I would love to hear how you went about that from, I call it inside out, because you made it a priority, not just for your marketing team, but also from a leadership perspective to expose everything that you were doing.
For sure. So I suppose my role in team is born out of the operations org within our marketing operation, our marketing organization. And if I'm being truly honest, it's almost been entirely through relationship building. Doing things like regular check-ins with our execution teams, our regional marketing leaders, meeting with these people, seeing, hearing what are they doing, what are they experiencing, what are the challenges they have, what are they trying to achieve, bringing that visibility then up to leadership, and then letting word of mouth help and do that scaling. And I think the model probably works precisely because the team is small, because I can stay closely connected to the people who are actually producing and using the content. I can get feedback directly, learn from it, optimize, work with SmartLink to make changes, etc. So you learn a lot with that approach. And leadership here at Docusign fully understands and respects the value of regional nuance. So they know you can't just push global content everywhere and expect it to land. They expect that there has to be an element of local nuance, adaptation to content. So my job is really to make sure that understanding translates into consistent practice across the organization, and that's across the entire marketing organization. So it's exciting.
It's exciting. And would you say this is something else that marketing leaders are running into? Would you say that, because we have such a mix, we have new team members in marketing, some that are coming, so the incoming, and then the ones that you've been with or have been in a company and that you inherit. So how do you feel you connected the dots between the two, knowing that you were bringing in this new leadership, this new way of doing things? Any challenges there or anything that you did differently there?
So your question is just around how we brought different teams within the organization together into this model. I suppose just sharing success stories. So really, like I said previously, this was born out of the operations org within the marketing team, which I've lived, eat, bred it for years, and I've taken a lot of learnings from it for what works for our website. And by finding workflows that work, we were able to replicate then out to other marketing materials content. Not every content obviously gets translated and localized in the same way. Like, as we know, multiple different contexts need different type of touch points, but generally the operations can work very well, and that's what it has been. So really getting some good examples, showcasing it, doing road shows with stakeholders, and really showing the benefits of it. And it's just worked really well. But I will say, going back to relationship building has been the groundwork for it all to be a success.
Yeah. So you spend just as much time guiding your team as much time as they connecting with leadership, because there's so much changing. And I think that makes sense for many of us. And I think that's the alignment that is so critical, because even with the work that you're showing, the numbers that you're showing or results that you're showing, there's also the importance today more than ever to stay in touch with that leadership level and showing them the work that your team is doing. I think everyone, no matter the size of the company, is experiencing that right now. And I actually think that connects marketing into that growth mindset of the bigger things that they're doing for a company today. And it's great to have leadership see that visibility as well. So, okay, so let's talk a little bit about the fun word budget. Budget varies, right? There's times that, results are high, and then maybe we go and request more budget, but there's times where, like budget gets limited, and then now you have a high volume of requests. how do you actually decide what gets localized? Like we're talking about all these things you want to do and all these markets you want to reach. So that's like the marketing dream, right? Like no stop to budget. We have it all, but how do you go down and make that decision?
Yeah, great question. Every request that comes to us, honestly, it has to have a business justification. So something like, what's the strategy for this asset? Who's going to use it? What is the outcome plan for it to drive? My team runs requests through business impact frameworks before committing budget, because you have to say to yourself, like, not everything that can be localized should be localized. Okay. Mm-hmm. So for example, we weigh requests based on business impact, the metrics it'll drive, whether it relates to an OKR or not. And we do this so that it proves that our team just isn't a ticket taker, but a strategic filter. Okay. And the requesters that submit anything to us, they're accountable for the success of the asset. So they see localization as an investment and not a service on demand. My team, we don't own end-to-end funnel and we don't try to claim it. Instead, we focus on observable signals like engagement, conversion differences between adapted and non-adapted content. I'll give you an example. I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier. We have regional teams own and localize blog content here at Docusign. They don't funnel their blog requests through my team. They typically lean into SmartLink themselves for initial translations and then adapt that before publishing. And we can really see real results from the work they're doing because they're optimizing the blogs for success. Like I mentioned earlier, they're focusing on that answer first content so as to be more customer friendly and to drive more leads. We've taken a push across more web-based marketing web pages, and this would then ideally result in volume and conversions. Another example of how we decide what gets localized is where it sits in our company OKR. So does the request fall within an initiative that's already ongoing or to be planned? Or is it something that has yet to be tested, but maybe the juice just is not worth the squeeze? So we regularly meet with our internal OKR owners and compare requests we get against our ongoing roadmaps. But of course, overall speed and cost are always part of this story. So you have to constantly demonstrate efficiency as much as demonstrating the impact. But ultimately, the case is about brand awareness and market presence, and particularly in markets where Docusign is still growing internationally.
That you had me at non-ticket takers. It is such a strategic decision. It is such a strategic move as you're moving out globally, and to think of marketing localization as a just ticket taker, like run this campaign or go for this without the real business case and strategy behind it. I think it could get really dangerous, and also kind of like you said, even from a budget perspective, I don't think you're going to get the return that you need necessarily. And then you're just not going to justify, what you have for what you're bringing in. I love that. We've covered a lot of ground, internally, externally, governance, all the things that are top of mind. When we think of marketing localization, there's, when I look back at all these topics, if someone is watching this and thinking, I want to make marketing localization more strategic, but they don't necessarily know where to start. They've been doing it one way along the way, and that has worked. And obviously we talked about the shifts and the changes. What should be the first move they make as they think of it as a strategic move?
For sure, yeah. I mean, the one piece of advice I would give to somebody trying to make that shift, and again, it's to move from being a service provider to that strategic partner, it would be this: stop asking for more budget and start asking for the why behind the source. Okay. In many organizations, localization is treated like a black box. Content goes in and a translation comes out. To change that, you have to insert yourself into the upstream conversation. So the next time a major campaign or product launch lands on your desk, don't just ask about the deadline. Ask something like, what is the specific business outcome this asset is driving in the US market? Is that outcome the same for EMEA, LATAM, APJ regions, whichever region you're targeting? Because when you start challenging the source content based on regional market needs, like our EIDIS example I've referenced a couple of times, you aren't just translating anymore, you're consulting, and you're showing leadership that you aren't just a cost center spending money to convert words. You're a growth partner, ensuring that the company's global investments actually land with the intended impact. And that's so powerful. And the strategy basically follows the curiosity. So once you prove you understand the business goals, you won't have to fight for a seat at the table. They'll start pulling the chair out for you.
Oh, I love that. Okay, pulling the chair out for you. So I'm certain that's what Docusign must be doing for you. It's such a strategic function. It's such a strategic move. We talked about the different markets. They're just so different, and we know it, right? It's the diversity of all the different markets and how they connect and how you go about it. But we've learned so much, and it's so interesting. Every time I talk to you, I learn something new. I took a few notes. Some of them I have been to ask you questions back, but some I was like, wait, what? Like, this is great. I am definitely keeping the ticket taker as a check mark of like, no, like many are talking that way, right? Like you just submit your request. Move away. And I think that was a big highlight of the conversation today. It's like move away from that ticket taker mentality and then evolved into that strategic function so that, like you said, they're pulling the chair for you instead of you trying to get into that conversation. I love that. Dervilla, we absolutely love working with you. We're so pleased that we are able to provide you value every single day, but at the same time, it's thrilling for us to be able to work with Docusign and you today, knowing that you're running such a strategic function and that we're able to help you grow that way. I thank you for your time, and I cannot wait to see you in Dublin soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And absolutely, thank you. I loved it.